I was thinking when Yannicka was talking and kind of getting a feeling for some of us is that it it's important to recognize the difficulty of this time, and it's important to feel the difficulty of this time in a way, because this is difficult. This is really difficult. Somebody asked me a few days ago how I was doing, and I didn't really, I deflected the question because I didn't want to get into it. But I was going to say I'm teetering between enlightenment and being committed to an asylum, to a mental health hospital. And it's like, whew, the good and the bad is so strong right now for me. And I, I, I'm aware of the suffering that's going on. I'm aware of my own suffering that's going on. And I'm aware that even though I'm suffering, there's something inside of me that's okay. It's like many years ago, I had this vision, and I thought it would happen a lot easier. But I had this vision during a ceremony of the humans separating into almost like two species at some point in the future, of the people that are able to access their truth, the people that are able and willing is really important, to access their truth, to access their heart, to access their joy, to access their peace, and those that aren't and don't want to and are not willing to. And almost as though the people that are aiming for consciousness are potentially going to be lifted into another dimension. This was during the ceremony. Don't take me seriously at this point about this, but as though we're going to be lifted into another dimension, and a dimension of much greater consciousness, much greater awareness, much greater inner connection to the inner, what the Sufis have talked about, what Buddha talked about, what they all the great ones talked about. And so here we are. The world is in a very critical state, and I was talking to somebody about this morning, and our minds in our lifetimes have not had to deal with extended problem, usually, from the world, in the world. We've had, never mind, that's political. I don't talk politics here. But, we've had difficult times, certainly, but no difficult time where I personally could not see this is the end point. It's coming. 4 years with a bad president. Hopefully it's over. You know, so now we're actually not. Oh, because our minds are not used to handling this kind of situation, especially a situation where we really can't look out the door and see the effects of it. We can't really do anything except turn on the news or whatever it is and see the effects of what's happening now, that my mind thinks it's almost over. We're coming to the end of this cycle, and we're not. We're still at the beginning of it, sadly to say. And so the two options really are to allow it to totally overwhelm, and it will. That's what happens during difficult times. We get overwhelmed, really overwhelmed. And it's okay to be overwhelmed now. It's okay. You know, when this first started happening, I made a list of things I wanted to do. Finish my book, exercise every day, do 2 hours of yoga, do an hour of qigong, clean my storage out, get rid of half my stuff or 2/3 of my stuff. And, you know, I think I wrote it down someplace on my computer of this list. And if I went back and checked it off, there's very few of these things I've accomplished. I'm exercising every day. This I'm really, you know, good boy. You know, I'm exercising every single day. But the other stuff, it's like I sit down to write and it's like, oh man, how can I do this? You know, that aspect of what I've been telling you about tamasic energy comes in. And so I made this whole list, and then a couple weeks ago, maybe I saw somebody else's list. They posted it on Facebook, and it was almost exactly the same as my list, except instead of these are things to do, it said these are things you don't have to do during this time period. And I read that and I was like, okay, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to do everything I've been putting off doing for the last 2 years in the next month. You know, it's okay to rest. It's okay to go within right now. In fact, I would say that it's a critical time to go within. Because if we don't do that, when the world falls apart, or is falling apart, or seems to be falling apart, or we're being told it's falling apart, God knows which one of those is totally correct at this point. But when that's happening, it's utterly necessary to take the time and the practice to go within. It's like we talk about it. I've been talking about it for the last 15 years doing ceremonies, and now we're going to sit and feel our hearts. You know, like it's very nice. You're in ceremony, things are going crazy. Feel your heart, breathe. And this is the ceremony we have now. This is the ceremony. This is the ceremony. And so taking that time to sit, to breathe, to contact the heart is vital. Every I Ching reading I've done for the last month has had within the reading, go to the still point in the center of your heart. Not every I Ching hexagram says that. But it's go to your heart. Let your heart guide you during this time. You know, and it's very, very important that this is exactly the way that we pursue this time. Otherwise, we're in for a world of confusion and pain. I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, but there's so much confusion in the world right now about what's going on. Who do you trust? Who do you believe? Is it Big Pharma? Is it the alt-right? Is it CNN? Is it Fox News? Is it this? Is it that? And from everything that I can see, the time right now is not to believe in these external gods, G-O-D-S, small g, but to believe in the true God within yourself. And not only believe, but to connect to that via connecting to the breath, via connecting to your heart, via connecting to your love. This is the only place that I've ever experienced that has no questions. This is the only place I've experienced that is not subjected to fatigue, overwhelm, and depression. It's the only place I've experienced where I can go and really rest, not sleep, not chill out, not vegetate, but really find peace, really find rest. And that's, to me, the lesson of this time and the opportunity of this time and the necessity of this time, even more so. Because without doing this, we're, what's the cliche? We're a ship in the ocean in a storm with no rudder. The subject of the force of any wave, any wind that comes along, blowing us wherever it randomly takes us. So the rudder is the heart. The rudder is the breath. The rudder is that inside of us that I've been teaching about in ceremony for years. And saying we have to do it outside of ceremony too. Now we friggin' have to do it outside of ceremony. It's not something that one should take as being an option, that one should take as being something that maybe I'll do, maybe I won't do. Because literally it is the life preserver during this time. Well, figuratively, it is the life preserver during this time. And that's what we need to be connecting to. This is the simplicity of it all. It's the beauty of it all. It's the opportunity of it all. I was writing something about the I Ching yesterday that I'll send out to all of you when it's done. And the I Ching is like to find the opportunities and the path and the direction during times of extreme difficulty and confusion. That's its purpose. And when it keeps on telling me to go to my heart, to go to the still place within, the term was the empty center of your heart. The empty space, empty of all the cares and worries and fears of the world, of this time. It behooves me, it behooves us to take that advice seriously. I don't want to be a ship in the ocean with no rudder. And in this case, the ocean is a very, 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 very dangerous ocean because it's the ocean of my mind. It's the ocean of my thoughts, of my emotions, of my fears, of my desires. And that ocean does not have my best interests. It might think it does, it might tell me it does, but it doesn't have my best interest. It's really like, I think I've told the story before, but a number of years into my time in Peru, I was at a ceremony, and you know, if you haven't been to Peru, there's many, many different styles of ceremony there. And some of them are the shipibo with the amazing, magical pattern weaving, singing, and some of them are, you know, really jungle style, and some of them are very influenced by Christianity, which I'm not. But I was at one of these very Christian-influenced ceremonies once, and you know, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. I can handle a little bit of Christianity from time to time, or a little bit of any religion from time to time. But then one of the son of the shaman started singing a song, and my Spanish was good enough to understand most of what he was saying. And most Ikaros are kind of repetitive, and they're, the words will be something to the effect of, now I'm cleansing you, now I'm healing your spirit, I'm healing your heart, I'm healing your emotions, I'm protecting you from all evil. Those kind of things are what most of the Ikaros are made out of. Some of them go into, now we're going to dance in emerald castles in the sky. But this one was a story of his life. And he's singing this story of his life. And, I did this, and my enemy made me do this. And then my enemy took this away from me. And then my enemy, put me in this situation. And he just went on and on about his enemy. And, I was not so in the medicine that I could not be judgmental. So I was being judgmental and thinking, this poor guy, what's going on with him? He's externalized his enemy. And he's talking about this enemy that's doing all this bad stuff to him. And then it got to the last line that he's saying. And the last line he's saying was, and it took me till now to realize that the enemy is me, that I am my own enemy. And I was like, oh, I love this guy. This is okay. And so this is the realization that I think every person eventually has to make, is that there are almost like two different beings inside of us. The cartoons with the devil and the angel, right? There's the devil, which is us. And there's the angel, which is us. And then there's the heart in the middle that need not listen to either voice. Because those two voices are part of duality. They're part of, that up and down, in and inside, outside, good and bad, right and wrong duality that really is in the tarot. It's the wheel of life, the wheel that we're stuck on, that sometimes you're going up and everything is amazing. And wow, this is such a great ride and I'm so happy and this is going to be the way it is forever. And then you go down. And, in the down phase, everything sucks. Everything sucks. In the up phase, everything is beautiful and it's going to last forever and unicorns are farting rainbows and God is talking to you and, the angels are outside your door waving their wings over your house and so beautiful. In the down phase, it's like the most beautiful rose smells like something in a cesspool. Nothing looks good. This is extreme, of course. I'm talking extremes here. Sometimes these things happen in the course of a minute. The wheel of life turns. And, so the question is, what's at the center of the wheel? What's at the center of the hurricane? What is the eye of the storm? What is the eye of the storm? And this is what we've been learning by doing ceremony. How to dive into the heart. And I'll say the same thing over and over and over again because it's so simple. It's such a simple lesson to learn that it's about the heart. That it's about joy. It's about love. It's not about the things that so many people are seeking: power, glory, wealth. Nothing wrong with these, but that's not what this time this infinite time is about. These two critters in our brain are always going to be talking about imaginary things. Even if they're real, they're still imaginary because they're talking about the past and the future. I would challenge everybody really to look at the voices that go on inside of your head and see how many of them, if any, are talking about the present moment, the exact moment of now, the Yar Din that I sing about in ceremony. I know for me, I can tell you exactly how many. 0. It's the regrets, the I wish I had, the oh, if I'd only done it differently. You know, the piling up of the regrets and guilts of life, which can never be changed. Interacting with the projection into the future of our fears and terrors, the things that are imaginary. You know, this is like really important stuff to understand that 90, 95, 100% of what we live with in our minds is from the past or from the future. And the only thing that exists in the moment is the heart, is the breath. You can sit down, close your eyes, and breathe. And if you sit long enough, this is the trick. If you sit long enough, you will find the still place inside. Sometimes you have to go through great noise, great resistance, great memories coming up of pain and trauma and regrets, remorses. But if you just continue to sit and sit and sit, for me it's almost like a switch is thrown. And suddenly my heart is at peace. Suddenly it isn't that nothing matters. It isn't that nothing matters. It's that nothing matters. This is the place where miracle happens. This is the place where the greatest of all miracles happens. The miracle of being alive. The miracle of being present. The miracle of joy. Rumi says, no. Kabir says, no amount of searching can find this. It's not found in books, it's not found in scriptures, it's not found in religion, it's found only inside of your heart. 24/7, 365 until you take your last breath. And then who knows? We'll see. We'll see. So I'm going to look at the questions. Ooh, lots of questions. John said, I was thinking of a potential topic for an I Ching reading because they've been so powerful for me, and I'd love more people to understand how deep they go. I've been feeling a lot of creative blockages in recent times, not only during the pandemic, but going back well before, maybe even a year or two. It feels like a creative drought, and I'm not sure how much of it is just a natural silence or time to rest, or if there is some kind of actual blockage or aversion going on. I'm not sure what the actual question is here, but perhaps since I know, I lost it. I'm not sure what the actual question in here is, but perhaps since I know there are a lot of creative people here, what is the way through into a renewed birth of creativity during times where we feel blocked or uninspired? I'm going to do an I Ching reading for you, John, because this is an old pattern you're going through. And I think we can get some insight on that for you. You know, as I work more and more with the I Ching, I find, you know, my analogy for it is like going. Okay, back up a second. Somebody asked me the other day, who do I look up to? Who do I look to for guidance in my life when things get rough? And, you know, I have a teacher who has shown me how to connect with myself, how to find peace inside. I don't have his phone number, and I wouldn't call him with my problems anyway. But when I need that kind of advice, I go to the I Ching, and it's always like the wise old elder who knows everything and can see my life from the bird's view perspective, who will tell me exactly what is causing the difficulty and even give direction on how to be during the time of difficulty and the way out of the difficulty, or the way through the difficulty, because there is no way out of difficulty, there's only the way through it. So it's an amazing exploration of the unconscious mind, of the part of us that is both incredibly wise, incredibly confused, and incredibly deep all at the same time. So it helps me to pick apart and to see in this vast arena of changes and possibilities what the proper direction in life is. What do I need to do? What do I need to be? What do I need to focus on? Where do I need to go in my own being? And it's very, very profound thing. So, you know, when there's a blockage to creativity, I mean, there's like literally books written about blockages to creativity. Writer's block. Anybody ever try to write? And you sit there and, you know, you're when I go on my walks, I get phenomenal ideas, and, you know, sometimes I jot them down and I come to sit to write them down, and it's like, huh? I don't know. I forgot everything. Where was I? But it's like a pattern that a lot of people go through. But I think an I Ching reading, John, will really help you through it. Henrietta, what is the role of so much suffering, both personally and globally? This is a good question. I mean, it's something that I think we can all consider. I do not give the, how to say it, I'm not giving the pandemic a personality yet. I don't think it's an entity that's trying to make us suffer. It's just a virus that's trying to reproduce, and an immune system that really doesn't like it. But, if we take it a bit deeper, what's the message of this time? I think I kind of covered that in the beginning. But to me, the message of the time is to separate what's unreal from what's real. Take us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from ignorance to knowledge, from death to immortality. That's a good prayer. Of all of the mantras out of Hinduism and Vedic culture, that one prayer is absolutely my favorite. Because it means we are in ignorance, we are in darkness, we are in death. And we need to find our way through that. Does an ignorant person know they're ignorant? Spend an hour on Facebook and you'll definitely see that the ignorant people do not know they're ignorant. Isaac Asimov. Let me see if I have this. Anyway. Oops. Isaac Asimov said there is a cult of ignorance, and there always has been. The strain of anti-intellectualism has been a constant thread winding its way through our politics and cultural life, nurtured by the false notion that democracy means that my ignorance is just as good as your knowledge. He said that in 1980. So ignorance does not know it's ignorant. And once a human being realizes that they're ignorant about something, then they can learn. So that, to me, is the purpose of this time. Every time, but now it's more intense. How do we find our way from ignorance to knowledge? When the sages say the knowledge is not outside of you. The knowledge is within. How do we find our way from darkness to light? If it's saying, take me from darkness to light, automatically it means we're in darkness. That's what it means. Take us to the light. Where's the light? I forgot what cartoon it was or what animation it was, but somebody turns on a bright light in a room and it's like, I see the light now, I must be dying, it's not that kind of light. The light within. From death to immortality. We are in death. We're alive. But there's also, right now, immortality. Question would be, when does immortality exist? It doesn't exist in the future. It was, I think it was Rumi, or Kabir. What you call salvation exists. Oh, Kabir. What you call salvation really exists in the time before death. I'll read that poem during the sound healing. That's such a good one. Yeah, listen for that one. So, yeah, the opportunity is the same opportunity that we have every moment of our life, only right now it's on steroids. Andy says, last week you spoke of the three worlds, that the jaguar represents the middle world, our world, and that it walks with purpose. Can you expand on the qualities it represents that are teachings for human beings? You know, there's such an interesting thing with animal spirits and the connection that human beings can have to animal spirits. And a while ago, I don't know if it's still popular, there was a book called Animal Spirits. And you could look up the animal that you were wanting to have as part of your, or having in your visions or dreams or whatever, and would tell you exactly what that animal meant and what its, you know, subconscious meaning was and what it represented and this and that. And one day I was really thinking about this. I think I was in Peru and I was around a jaguar actually during that time period. It was in a cage, fortunately. But I was around, fortunately for me, not for the jaguar. But it was in a cage, and I realized, you know, how do you know what an animal really represents? And it's by watching it, by observing it, by really focusing on it almost like a meditation until you feel its spirit, you feel its soul, you feel its essence. You see how it moves, you see what it does. In the three worlds, the jaguar, it's simple, it represents impeccability. For me, it represents power, strength, gracefulness, beauty, intelligence, a little bit of cunning, patience, big time patience. And oddly enough, these are the qualities that we need to make it in this world, to survive in this world. There's a lot of wisdom in that. So that's my understanding of jaguar. Henrietta says, in response to John's question, I just read a book by the best-selling author of Eat, Pray, Love. So my book is going to call Drink, Sing, Puke. So Eat, Pray, Love, Drink, Sing, Puke. Something like that. Or Drink, Puke, Sing. That outlines a new way to look at creativity in her book, Big Magic Creative Living Beyond Fear, which tackles the challenge of creativity in terms of getting out of the way and letting the voice of inspiration flow through you. Also a TED Talk. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. And Rob says what Andy said. Also, if there's more detail that can be added to the description of the condor and anaconda spirits and archetypes. You know, not a lot for me. Again, you know, like think about what a condor does. To me, the condor is the gracefulness of flight and the awkwardness on the land and the effortlessness with which it can stay in the air all day long, literally. It can take off in the morning and with almost no effort fly all day. That's the effortlessness of the third world, of the upper world, and the gracefulness of it and the freedom of it. You know, what would it feel like? Maybe, you know, minus the eating dead creatures thing, but what would it feel like to be a condor? Flying, you know, like they just move little tiny movements of their wings. You very beautiful to watch. What's that effortlessness? The anaconda. I've always had a little bit of trouble with the anaconda because I don't know anacondas that well. I held part of one once, but I didn't really get to know it, and they're pretty hard to observe. But I think for me the anaconda represents a great deal of strength and power. Between an anaconda and a jaguar, I think the anaconda would win. A big anaconda anyway. So there's a great deal of strength and power, and they do not seem like fearful creatures to me at all. When you're 18 or 20 or 30 feet long, there's not a lot you have to fear. So meeting the unconsciousness, the demons, the monsters, the things that go bump in the middle of the night inside of our head, with the strength and courage of an anaconda and the willingness to go anywhere. Anacondas can go on land, go in water. Not sure if they can climb trees or not, but they're pretty versatile creatures. Rob says, hoping you can address this as I've been navigating much loss during this time. Two best friends who moved out of the country, state at the onset of COVID, loss of romantic love, loss of human touch and contact, shift in career. I'm a book writing coach, and although there is movement, some new clients, and I'm making COVID coaching possibilities. I don't quite understand what you're saying here. I feel this is very spiritual, very core wound healing, sadness, and wow, Goddess, what is next? It might be awesome. I'm open to illumination or wisdom along this path of loss and what has at times felt like deep abandonment and rejection. Debbie. That was from Debbie. Yeah, I mean, me too. The last 3 months in my life have been tremendous loss and tremendous pain and tremendous feeling like the rug just got pulled out of me and there's no bottom to the falling. On one hand, very, very, very challenging. It was like poised between enlightenment and the mental hospital. What I see is that the only way through this time of loss and pain is, number one, to not do what we're so good at, which is repressing it, making it go away. We're so good at that, and our culture thrives on making pain go away. Probably 80% of modern medicine is making pain go away. You're emotionally at pain, you're depressed, here, have some SSRIs. You're in anxiety, have some tranquilizers. You can't sleep, have a sleeping pill. Your body hurts, take an anti-inflammatory. Your body really hurts, take an opiate. You're dying, take an opiate, become unaware of what's happening. And so, we're really good at repressing the feelings. I'm in so much pain. Oh my God. Chocolate ice cream, or Ben and Jerry's. Impeachment. Um, you know, Whatever it is. It's like run away and hide from what's really happening. And it's so important not to. It's so important not to run away. It's not so important to put a Band-Aid on the festering wound and pretend it's okay. I mean, I used the example once or twice of, you have a infection and you put a bandage on that has Barneys on it, Barney the green dinosaur or purple dinosaur or whatever color Barney was, and we think, oh, it's so cute, everything's okay. But underneath it, it's still festering. And I think societally and culturally, and probably most of us as individuals, have spent long periods of our existence pushing these things away, trying to avoid, trying to ignore, trying to make okay that which isn't okay. It can never be okay. A broken heart is never okay. The Sufis talked about that. Breaking somebody's heart is never okay. Will that stop it from happening? No. Will that stop your own heart from being broken? No. Sadly. So we live and we feel. And the pain itself, like there's two parts to pain. There's what you're actually feeling on a sensory level within your being. And then there's the story. Pain is pain. The pain of a broken heart, the pain of a death, the pain of lost opportunity, the pain of all of these things is the same general pain. But it's the stories that we tell ourselves, the events that happen, that create the differences in our experience. So from everything that I've seen and noticed in my life, it's like the pain goes way back. And if you sit in ceremony, you're gonna at some point feel that. That how far back does the pain go? How far back have we been trying to cover it up with other emotions? Anger covers up pain really well. Doesn't heal it, covers it up. I'm in pain. Where's my whiskey? Single malt scotch, please. Where's my whiskey? Drink it away. It doesn't go away. None of these things make it go away. So I think now the time is to really feel it and try to divorce it from the story and just feel what's at the root. The stories make perfect sense. The stories make perfect sense and give you all the reason you need to feel all the pain you need. But the pain is actually there apart from the story. The grief is for everybody. The loss is everyone's. The pain is universal. Can't be covered up. Cannot be healed. Can be transformed by really feeling what's there, with assistance if you need the assistance during that time period, because it's not easy. when you sit in ceremony with me, it's like when people go into that place, you know, I push them deeper into it. Not because I want them to suffer, because I want them to pass through it. And in all things, the way out is through. Audrey says, pain is a prod to remembrance. I assume you mean like a cattle prod. You know, in Chinese medicine, grief is associated with the lung and the metal element. And the fine-tuning on this grief thing is to not wallow in it. You know, to feel it, but not to obsess it. You know, and to make sure, critical, to make sure in those moments you're breathing deeply. Pain, grief injures the lungs in Chinese medicine. And I was thinking about why, when I was studying Chinese medicine, this happens. And, you know, every emotion has an anatomy to it. You know, the pride, you know, chin up, chest out, belly sucked in, Donald Trump, you know, false pride. Grief is, you know, the shoulders turn in. You know, the crying is shallow. The breathing becomes shallow. And so chronically holding that posture of grief means the lungs are not fully functioning. And, you know, the very act of breathing deeply helps greatly to process these things through. Anything through. So just get comfortable now. And take some deep breaths. Become aware of your heart. Become aware of all of the sounds around you and in you, of your heartbeat, of your breath. And let yourself sink deeper with each breath you take into the silence within. friend. Hope for the guest while you are alive. Jump into experience while you are alive. Think and feel while you are alive. What you call salvation belongs to the time before death. If you don't break your ropes while you're alive, do you think ghosts will do it for you afterwards? The idea that the soul will join with the ecstatic just because the body is rotten, that is all fantasy. What is found now is found then. If you find nothing now, you will simply end up with an apartment in the city of death. If you make love with the divine now, in the next life you will have the face of satisfied desire. So plunge into the truth. Plunge into the vast ocean of consciousness that is who you truly are. Kabir says this: when the guest is being searched for, it is the intensity of the longing for the guest, for the love inside, for the heart, for the supreme experience that does all the work. It is the intensity of the longing for the guest that does all the work. Look at me, and you will see a slave of that intensity. I have been thinking. I have been thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking of the difference between water. I have been thinking and thinking, and the waves on it rising. Water is still water, falling back, it is water. Will you give me a hint, a clue, how to tell the water from the wave? Because someone has made up the word wave, do I need to distinguish it from water? Listen. Listen. There is a secret one inside us. The planets in all the galaxies pass through his hands like beads. And that is a string of beads one should look at with luminous eyes. There is a secret one inside of you. The planets and all the galaxies and all the stars pass through its hands like beads. That is a string of beads one can look at with your luminous eyes. With your luminous eye. What kind of God would he be if he did not hear the bangles ring on an ant's wrist as they move the earth in their sweet dance? And what kind of God would he be if a leaf's prayer was not as precious to all of creation as the prayer his own Son sang from the glorious depths of his soul for us? And what kind of God would he be if the vote of millions in this world could sway him to change one letter of the divine law of love that speaks so clearly with compassion's elegant voice, saying, eternally saying, all are forgiven. Moreover, dear hearts, no one has ever been guilty. What kind of God would he be if he did not count the blinks of your own eyes and is in absolute awe of each of their movements? What kind of God would he be? What kind of God?
within this earthen vessel are bowers and groves. And within this earthen vessel is the Creator. Within this vessel are the 7 seas and the 7 oceans and the unnumbered stars. The touchstone and the jewel appraiser are within. And within this vessel, the eternal speaks, and the springs well up. And Kabir says, "Listen, my friend, my beloved Lord is within."